It is Sunday here at the Heroes Global Championship, which means here, Gillyweed and Jayhow, we have two more amazing matches coming at you from North America. Jayhow, I've been working on this one all morning.
Okay.
Two teams from North America have qualified so far for the Western Clash, but for the other two spots, it's gonna come down to maybe a buzzer beater or a slide into home plate, a win by a nose. Are all of these sports ball terms that I executed accurately?
A walk-off win would just send it home.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Exactly that. As we look at the standings, you can indeed see why it is so close here in North America, because two teams, Tempo Storm and Heroes Hearth Esports, have claimed those spots. Heroes Hearth Esports, with their win over Tempo Storm, also claims the top of NA, but the rest, Freedom, Endemic, and Arctalysis, those three teams are locked in a bitter battle to find out which two of them gets to go to the Western Clash and who has to sit at home and watch.
Gilly, our statistician, Bull Shannon, now known just, we're going to refer to him as Bull Shannon from here on out, because that dude is crunching numbers. He's got spreadsheets for days, and he comes to us and he's like, here's the breakdown, here's how it's going to work. And I left with question marks, lots of question marks, because anything can still happen going forward. I'm excited for not just this week, but next week. It's going to come down to the last week to figure out who goes to Western.
Yeah, Jayhow was walking off, dropping his variant question mark sprays, much like you see from our players in the game. Earlier today in Europe, Granite Gaming, unfortunately, they fell to Team Liquid, though they fought hard. But with that win, Team Liquid, congrats to them. They make it to the Western Clash, which it has been a long time since we have gotten to say that, and that feels very good to get to see them there. Then the leftovers, they keep going. They are very close, Jayhow, to being able to say the same as they get a 3-0 win over the Menagerie. Later on, No Tomorrow versus Simplicity, but first, this is an important one between LFM Esports and Team Freedom. Jayhow, tell us why.
Yeah, Team Freedom, obviously, if they get the win, that increases their odds drastically to get to the Western Clash. But it goes beyond just getting the win, because they also need to make sure their plus-minus in the win-loss column is good, because next week they play Arctalysis, and if Arctalysis picks up that victory, who knows what happens between Endemic and Tempo Storm. Win here is good. A win here is almost a must to guarantee at least a favorable chance. If you lose here, all of a sudden you go from maybe we should make it to maybe we won't make it. And so for Team Freedom, they need to pick up the victory. It's a crucial win for them, but they need to do it in decisive fashion. But as we saw from LFM just earlier this weekend, that team's on the rise.
They are on the rise, and I think it is going to be something that Team Freedom is very concerned about, worried about, is how LFM looked earlier this weekend, because LFM's bringing in a lot of aggression, and Freedom in the past has not always handled that with ease. But for Freedom, one thing they do have going for them is that LFM were falling behind in the early game, and we know if Freedom gets a lead in the early game, it is the best chance for them to close out games.
The old LFM looked a little bit different, but the one thing the old LFM did then and that they can do now is they always have a penchant to come back in a late game team fight. Team Freedom is probably the best at avoiding those, so I think they do need to try and focus on the early game. If they're going to be aggressive from the get-go and just come out swinging, and we know with Fury on the front line definitely is something he likes to do, so I'm looking forward to this matchup today.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to hearing from players. Let's hear from The Aware and Nasmus as they weigh in on this best of 5.
I think LFM is a great team. They always start the game well. They get where they want to go. It's just closing games it feels like they're missing. LFM, I feel like Fury has been a great addition to the team. However, with the new addition of the two bands, we've seen often Fury hero pool be really impactful on some heroes and a bit less impactful on others. So I think that might be something we can look to focus on at least. I think it'd be a pretty easy series for us, but I don't want to write them out either.
Our match Sunday against Freedom, really hope we can take that one. Our games have kind of historically always been really, really close against them, but it is always a struggle to keep up with their macro play. It is interesting with the three bands, things like Genji maybe not seeing too many games. That's a character that Lutano has always performed really well on. I'll also be keeping my eye open for what Collusion decides to play. They've been looking pretty good lately. But yeah, just hope we keep up with the macro and out team fight them.
Well, last weekend is the last time that we saw Team Freedom. This is the first time they're showing this weekend. And though they had a very solid drafting, and Collusion giving a shout out to their new coach, Levies, who was able to help them in a lot of different areas of their gameplay, including the drafting, helped them get the win over Endemic, which was crucial between that triangle of teams. They fell to Tempo Storm, and when I talked to Nasmus, he said that Game 1 was good. Dragon, we were fine. But then mentality, they were shaken after losing that game. It was a very long game, a brutal fight on Dragonshire. And then after that, we saw them have to deal with things like the Hypercarry Vala of Tempo Storm and the Sergeant Hammer on Cursed Hollow. And for them, he said they have to become more resilient of a team because the mentality was just shattered after that loss.
I think a lot of that comes down to leadership for them. I think it's good that they brought the coach in, maybe get that mentality shaped into position, because Zugrug, very smart on the front line, has a very good mind for this game. Nasmus, we know his role in the off lane does bring a very good perspective to this, but I look at the strong voice that some of the teams have, some of the top teams have, and it might not be there, and sometimes you can get away with it. You don't always need just some rah-rah, brash person on the front. You just need that strong voice to keep people in check, to keep them calm, and I think one person that we've seen in particular that's starting to step further and further into more of a voice is Lutano, because he's like, wait a minute, he's like, I'm actually good enough to do the things, right?
Yes.
Now he can start inserting a little bit more of like that feel-good mentality, because he's been killing it. He has been straight killing it. I think for him on that back line, being able to enable the rest of his team, both in a voice and in his play, is definitely there. Zugrug and Nasmus, we know what we're getting from them, but we need that strong voice for this team to settle things down for them.
Well, this could be a bit of deja vu then, because we're going back to Dragonshire for Game 1. That is a place where Team Freedom brought a lot more aggression than we've seen before. There were times when they lost to Zugrug at the beginning of a fight, and twice were willing to fight 4v5, one time winning the fight versus Tempo Storm. Though this will be an LFM choice, it is a place where Team Freedom did fight admirably versus Tempo Storm, and I agree, there needs to be more of that voice for Freedom, and especially if they go back to the Western Clash, because you know that after their performance at the last Western Clash, there's going to be some nerves there for this team, because they had so many people talking about how fantastically they played in scrims and then came in, did not win a game, and dropped out of the tournament.
0-4. It was crazy to think that the amount of people that we heard behind the scenes in every interview we did with every team, it was Freedom, Freedom, Freedom might be the best team, not just from North America, but might be one of the best teams there. Obviously a disappointing performance. They will try and rebound from that and get there, as they're going to start here on Dragonshire. And for those voices that do tend to be the voice heard on a team, LFM picking up Fury with his experience, that's the type of voice that you want on your team. We'll see how that plays out here in the early game, as Genji being banned by Freedom. And that's interesting, because Aware was like, well, hey, Lutano's been good on that hero. You thought maybe they would need the ban, but they don't get that.
I love where Fury has come from his starting days, because you see him and he's a more of a soft-spoken individual, but his time on top teams now, coming in and being the veteran and knowing that he needs to be that voice, has been such a cool transition that you can just see in his comportment. And even coming in and doing a winner's interview with us earlier this weekend was just, it's such a change, and it's awesome to see that confidence coming in many forms, both in-game and out of game. Genji and Tracer, very consistent bans that we see from last week, but we're adding in some more assassins.
Assassins, and more assassins. If there's going to be another one, Hanzo or Phoenix come to mind here. The scary part is if you ban one and the other one gets taken by Team Freedom, then do you have a backup option? We know Jaina has high priority in North America on this battleground. Urel's going to be banned down, so taking care of that solo lane, sure, the Dahaka and as the Hanzo is going to be first pick, the Dahaka and the Blaze will come into play, but Hanzo, I think, is definitely the hero we want to see Lutano on.
Well, that Urel is very interesting. I'll go back to Hanzo, but Urel is first pick material for both of these teams on Dragonshire, so that Freedom wants to ban it. They know that there's no way they would have gotten it, but what it does now is maybe would have known that they would have picked Hanzo here. Both of the teams like to get Hanzo. They both like to also have Phoenix, so I'm wondering if now we see a Phoenix. No, we're gonna get Jaina instead for LFM. Figgy going back to his first mage, though he's shown us some great Li Ming play too. Jaina feels like home for Figgy, and then they also have a global in Dahaka.
Well, this goes back to the ETC that we saw earlier this week, where it's, well, we have the ETC Gul'dan, didn't quite have the blow-up potential. If we do get another ETC, I wouldn't be surprised. Johanna Fury hasn't wanted to play a lot of Johanna, but Johanna does do well on this battleground. Muradin, we've seen Heroes Hearth run a composition with the Johanna Jaina blow up, and it doesn't matter if you're a frontliner or a backliner, you can get it on the front line, and Johanna Jaina is the major setup for that. Maybe a gray main behind that for LFM.
Muradin being taken away from Fury is unfortunate, though. I think they're likely to realize that that's going to be the case when they're in the second pick position, unless they're willing to sacrifice one of those two bans, because Zugrug likes his Muradin too. That's going to be a hotly prioritized hero between both of the teams. Malfurion ban shows that LFM's probably going to get their support in the next two, though seeing a Malfurion ban is quite interesting given the fact that it's the Aware for LFM. That has been his most played hero by a long shot, but LFM, like a lot of the other teams here in NA, have been picking up more Alexstrasza. Maybe we're going to see her there.
That has been a surprise this weekend. Diablo is going to be banned out, taking away one of those aggressive frontliners away from Fury. You know, an interesting stat for Team Freedom, there's only one hero that we really see on the backline that's been played a handful of times with less than a 50% win rate. That is Phoenix, and that's been Yoda's hero up until this point. I think the problem that we've seen is compositions with the Phoenix. Phoenix is a great hero, as evidenced by a lot of things, as we will get the gray main, so potential one-shot blow-up composition. I think the Hanzo Phoenix here is something much stronger for them. Their Hanzo play has only lost one game so far with Lutano on that hero. So I think this composition that we see from these two is very strong here as we get the final two picks for Team Freedom.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Team Freedom was able to get both Hanzo Phoenix, and now they have Blaze. Of course they'll get Karazim here because it's Collusion. Still sticking to that favorite despite everyone else's new penchant for our Dragon Queen. But I see those first four heroes, and I am wowed that Team Freedom got all of those. Add Karazim to that, knowing that it's Freedom. They are so happy with this composition.
So Nubarex, something that we have seen spring up for the aggressive style. It's scary against a Phoenix and a Hanzo. The range potential, the disengage potential, of course Muradin manning the front line there. Anubrak always falls into the we kill him or we get killed mentality sometimes. I think this is a situation where you have a lot of kill potential.
Oh yeah.
So the aggression can be there early, it can be there often. Greymane Jaina, some of the best early game output. Anubrak, some of the best early game CC with the combos that he has, and Deckard following that up. If LFM wants to be aggressive in the early game, this is a perfect composition for it.
Well, one thing, having both Deckard Cain and Jaina, I feel both of them can set up Anubrak so that he doesn't have to necessarily tank a lot of that early fight damage. Wait until someone gets nabbed with the slows and then the Scroll of Sealing. Then he burrow charges in, looks for the kill, and then later on, post 10, they'll have something like maybe a Ring of Frost, Cursed Bullet 2 to follow that up. But Karazim will probably have Divine Palm to try to stop that. So it's all about who is where. Since we're going into Dragonshire, we're ready for game one between LFM Esports and Team Freedom. Team Freedom needs a clean win here if they want to keep their chances going for the Western Clash.
We're going to get things started here with LFM on the left in blue, as again, this is a new Fury-led team. But the introductions here is going to have Aware, of course, on the support on Deckard. Fury will be bringing the pain on the Anubrak. Swab's back from his little bit of a vacation. He's going to be there on Tahaka. Droplets on the Greymane, and Figgy going to see if he can bring it on that Jaina.
Yeah, congratulations to Swab's sister who got married. That's why he wasn't here, but Equinox filled in very well for the team, getting them that first one. We'll see if they can get a second, but Team Freedom in the red, Collusion support player on Karazim, Lutano playing his Hanzo. Zugrug manning the front lines on Muradin. Nasmus up there with them, been in the top two as Blaze, and finally Yoda back on Phoenix.
Post 16, the blow-up composition with the cleansing touch from Muradin, excuse me, it could potentially be on Muradin, but coming out from Karazim. For LFM, a lot of their work, I think, is going to need to be done early. There's going to be a charge. There's droplets going in. The warp out is in time, and they've turned their attention onto Figgy. So Lutano coming in, making the plays. They traded out there a little bit too deep, I think, for Jaina to follow up. And the minute she stepped forward, Team Freedom matched aggression with aggression. I like what I see from LFM, but a little bit out of communication. Here goes Fury. Gilly again, if you go in, you're probably not coming out.
Yeah, if you're in as a Nubarak, and not having the Jaina there for the follow-up. seeing maybe that they could get the trade out on kills. LFM is very understanding of the situation at hand, needing to get those kills to make sure that they stick with Team Freedom. Team Freedom is one of the best teams in NA when they get an early game lead, if not the best. They are just fantastic at that. But when you're able to keep up with them and keep the aggression going and maybe even startle them somewhat with the kills, then they just don't look like the same team. That's been a common theme for them in Phase 1, though working on that, no doubt, with their coach to be better from that. So LFM wants to hope to bring that same kind of fight to Team Freedom that other teams have been able to do and even get wins over them with it.
Lutano's accuracy on Hanzo scares me. Droplets, he's in trouble. He's going to have that disengage. Perfect hammer, follow up by Zugrug as Fury holding point. He's forced to burrow charge out. Figgy, he's got Yoda hot on his heels with the slow and the damage. Figgy tries to return fire, but ends up dropping quite a bit of health. So LFM, they're licking their wounds, and this early aggression from Team Freedom is not the typical. They've tried it at times, but this Team Freedom start is very good. And this is, if you, that's another great scatter arrow by Lutano. They got to stop hugging the walls here. Yeah, if you're a Team Freedom fan, that's good.
It's wonderful to see from them, and a lot of that comes from being able to go in with Zugrug being on his Muradin, tank damage, jump out, and also Collusion and how willing he is to go in, finding and seeing that Jaina kill earlier on and getting the trade there. Now LFM, though, takes back this, but not before losing Droplets in the mid, who was stalling out from the Dragon Knight. Either way, Team Freedom is walking away a winner in these trades.
He was stalling, but there had to be some communication coming in from his teammates at the bottom saying that, hey, we've got this, you can get out, because the Muradin rotation up, and now the Muradin rotation down. Teams have been really favoring this Muradin, and we have got out to 4 quick kills here from Team Freedom and a full level lead to start this game.
Holy Freedom, man. This is looking good from them. And likely not at all what LFM was expecting. Not especially on Dragonshire, their favored battleground, but that Karazim and the Muradin too, and keeps Phoenix and Hanzo very safe in being able to put that damage behind it. First Dragon Knight for Team Freedom, 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the game is going to allow them to take out some of these towers, start getting in place for future Dragon Knights and getting more of an experience lead, because we're only a few minutes into this game and J-How already a level lead and a gank on Dahaka in the top.
Team Freedom, this is one of the most aggressive starts I've ever seen them, and it is working perfectly. You mentioned staying safe. Hanzo switching up his build at level 4. Ignore all distractions, making sure that you can one-shot minions and then you give yourself bonus auto attack range. That's one way to make sure and trade out very well against the likes of a Jaina or a Greymane. Also remaining protective. There's going to be a stun. Yoda, he's going to be the first to fall, so we get a little bit of a pushback from LFM to start.
Yeah, Yoda was pretty far in to the side of LFM's base. Later on, that's not as aggressive once you get the forts down, but before at least one of those forts are down, LFM can hold their position around there and get a welcome kill and a relief, a reprieve from some of the pressure and damage that LFM has done to them, because LFM, or that Team Freedom's done to them, because LFM still finds themselves a level behind Team Freedom, and Freedom being able to take out quite a lot with that Dragon Knight. Towers in multiple lanes and the well in the bottom lane is super important.
It's quite significant what they've accomplished here in just the first 5 minutes. Sometimes we see Dragonshire games. Teams compositionally might have a different approach, a little bit slower start. For Team Freedom, they don't want any of that.
Well, they need to do something about this then, because 10 is rapidly approaching for Team Freedom, and LFM's working on getting camps. They want to double camp at the bottom. Team Freedom working on getting the camp in the top, so they'll have that pushed out. Dahaka rotating to the mid to keep the dual lane soaking going so that LFM don't lose out on that. But they're going to get this double camp. We'll see if maybe they can take some towers down, but still being this far behind in experience, it's not going to be a full answer for them.
Blank.
Because Heroic's abilities are here and Freedom are setting that up.
It's Blank City. Here comes Yoda and Zugrug on the flank. They've been identified. Nice impale. Zugrug goes in, lands the stun onto Jaina. Scroll's going to buy some time there. He's able to walk away.
It was a great setup for Freedom. When they had that camp, they bring Blaze down. He keeps soaking, but is in a better position so that he can possibly join in if they get into a brawl that would be so Freedom favored by having heroic abilities. We do see a Divine Palm for Carzine. There's been both played by Carzine players in North America, but versus the Jaina and the Greymane and the Anubarak makes a whole lot of sense why Collusion wants to pick up Palm here.
For LFM, level 10 is going to be a very welcome sight. Their kill potential in the early game is significant, but it has not been able to show itself due to the counter aggression from Team Freedom. Now, Ring of Frost, Cursed Bullet, that is scary. They are not able to get onto the point on time, however, and that is another DK for Team Freedom.
That it is, bringing it straight down to this bottom lane, which has already sustained damage. Cursed Bullet and Ring of Frost are there for the burst. Lornado over Stay a While and Listen for Deckard Cain and Cocoon. See how that's utilized by LFM, by Fury. Trying to get that on a Carzine would be great as a way of trying to stop him from having that Palm versus their blow up. Fury's gonna come around from the side. Has already used Burrow Charge, which elicits a stun from Team Freedom and some follow-up damage from Collusion. They're just doing what they can to create some space for the rest of LFM to clear out this Dragon Knight.
The Anchor by Fury is gonna find Blaze as he comes through. Cocoon is used, which means they are ready to fight. Diving into the back line, they're gonna miss out on Lutano. Jaina gets the boot. Zugrug, he's very aggressive. Droplets, he's gonna get taken down on that Greymane. Scatter Arrow obliterates Swab's health bar. He's gonna be the next to fall.
With that, Team Freedom forces LFM back even further using the Purification Salvo, and there were some slows there. Figgy chunks that health bar down but stays alive. Bunker will be used just to soak up some shots, allow them to get more damage on these keep towers. Team Freedom keeping the pressure up against LFM in this mid game.
Taking down this bottom keep wall has netted them so much experience. They now have a 2-level lead, 7 kills to 1. It's going to become more and more difficult for LFM to come back in this game if LFM keeps up this pace, and it might be one of those quicker Dragonshire games, the way that Team Freedom is currently playing.
They're going to get a giant camp, step back. They've used a lot of heroic abilities, let those recharge back up, get some presence on the battleground. And like you said, being able to get a fort down so fast here, get keep tower damage done too, and have this big of a lead lets you have the snowball that you see on many other maps, but that is sometimes more difficult to achieve on Dragonshire, which is having a talent tier whenever the next Dragon Knight phase starts up. And LFM are a far cry away from 13, but they're not willing to give up the aggression. Yoda heads up in making sure that he warps out from that Burrow Charge. And unfortunately for LFM, they lose Droplets. Now Figgy is going to be the next one to fall. The slow, the salvo, everything there. Team Freedom fire back, and how?
Everything that Team Freedom wants to accomplish, they have accomplished. Sidestep is there on the aware. Yoda goes in, oil is down. Now the slow from the plasma cutter. Yoda continuing to put the damage out, but they've turned their attention to the keep, setting up for a potential game-winning Dragon Knight if they can pull that off in a moment. But everything that could go right for Team Freedom has gone right, and they might just be looking to end early.
I mean, when your whole team is relying on one of your 2 frontliners to hit the initial stun, and Swabs can't be here because he's Dahaka and he needs to be in the top lane because it's Dragonshire, we haven't seen him come for the stock down, and the team is watching. LFM, or Team Freedom, is just waiting to see when Fury wants to Burrow Charge in and trying to avoid that. This might be a welcome change to that because a drag hits now, they have Fury too, the Cursed Bullet's there, and when they hit, the follow-up is severe. That's exactly how LFM has been playing, that's where they found success. It's just a matter of, if those things don't hit, it's clear that there's no backup plan, there's no plan B.
It is super struggle on these all-in compositions. It's one of the things that Heroes Hearth does so well is that they have their wombos through heroics, but it's not always about their heroics because they draft heroes that can have that soft synergy based off their basic abilities. So the reset potential to just say, all right, we missed once, let's give it another go, is very high. For an Anubarak, the accuracy is what is most difficult as Fury becomes the target.
Yeah, he wants the rest of the team to show up if he can, but he's going to have to Burrow Charge away because it's Anubarak and he takes a lot of damage. Swabs is here.
There's going to be a drag landing. Curse bullet ripped. Lornado not in time. Zugrug able to dwarf toss away. Both shrines picked up here for LFM. Team Freedom just moments away from 16, however.
Yeah, that was wonderful by LFM after getting the pick top to cycle through the bruisers on the way down because it frees up Swabs to come down for a possible fight. And that's exactly where LFM needed it to be. But not being able to find the kills there to catch them up in experience. Now Freedom has that 16. Things get a lot better. Cleansing Touch finally here along with the Palm is a lot more of a saving factor for Karazian versus this LFM composition.
Blank feigned here for the moment. See just at the top of your screen, Muradin playing around the fog, but no Phoenix in range just yet. 16, of course, picked up for Team Freedom. LFM a ways away before they can get there. See if they can find another isolated pick. It worked for them once.
Well, LFM's trying to play keep away on the shrines, and Team Freedom's looking to force the issue. They go for the Giants. Figgy's caught out, checking it. Will drop the Ring of Frost in the process, seeing if they can trade out on kills, and that Lornado was really good from the Aware, hoping that they could get that because Phoenix has been the target. But the bunker was there by Nasmus, and Phoenix hopped into it. Team Freedom steals the Giants. They already have bottom. We'll see if they can work their way toward top and get this Dragon Knight.
LFM a little bit split there, and that's one of those scary times where it's, all right, maybe that's avoidable. So LFM finding themselves a little bit further behind the 8-ball here. Nasmus gonna try and control point. Does see Swabs, but as he put down some oil, has eyes on droplets. Drag's gonna land. Curse bullet. See if that rips. He's gonna try and make something happen, but the rest of Team Freedom here to fight.
That was a wonderful impale on the Cursed bullet too, but Zugrug gets in the Avatar. Swabs fighting for his life. Jumped on by Zugrug. Now Dahaka goes down. That's a place where if you feel like you can't give up the Dragon Knight, you know you're fighting for V5 and you are just hoping that you can stave off your opponents from getting the Dragon Knight, but you know that you're fighting a man down. Figgy came back, Figgy cleared out bottom, but the keep is already gone. And now this is a very scary place for LFM to be. The good news, they're just about to 16. The bad news is Team Freedom has been winning on all accounts this whole game, J-How.
This is quite surprising. This is a 13-minute DK. Don't get me wrong, this thing does not do a lot of damage. Jaina puts out a lot of damage in return, but not going for game here surprises me because you now give LFM another window of opportunity to fight on even talent tiers.
Right.
You will be winning the race towards 20, but all things considered right now, this DK is about to pop. And you know that Fury is going to be coming in looking to make something happen.
Well, he was. There's going to be a boot that throws Dahaka away, and Fury had already burrow charged that stops the possible drag isolation out of it. Well done by Yoda. Freedom really wants to get this keep if they can, but LFM now having 16 know that their times to fight are very limited. And this is one of them. They can get on someone from Team Freedom. The only thing I can think of is maybe because Zugrug gets so much pressure and had his Avatar already down, they had Phoenix inside of the Dragon Knight, that they didn't want to risk it, respawn timers being low, ability to clear out the Dragon Knight, but it did seem curious that they went mid, didn't get mid keep, and were not willing to even question the bottom lane.
There's a lot of kill threat, a lot of dive in the
For
DK
sure.
because it doesn't do a lot of damage. You can dive past the DK without the risk of giving up the core. That's got to be the mindset here for Team Freedom. They'll be able to win the race to 20. They'll have control of this game, and they still are very much favored at this point to end the game. But every time they get in these situations, it becomes a bit scarier. Dragon Arrow out in return. Zugrug already used his Avatar and his heal.
That was the cocoon that LFM wanted. It was on Karazian, but they break him out. Lornado is out there too, but it's going along with LFM, who somehow have not lost anybody. Stormbolt gonna try to change that though from Zugrug. I cannot believe nobody died there.
That ring hit 3 people on the side of Team Freedom. I just don't understand why you would choose that fight if you're Team Freedom. Like that's the only way you can lose this game is by taking a fight. And you're so close to 20. It's a bit surprising, but Team Freedom, they've got to be feeling good about themselves. You look up at the scoreboard, it's 12 kills to 2, so why not?
haven't lost a fight, a full fight yet. They've lost a couple of picks in the top lane, but otherwise it is all coming up aces for Team Freedom. Now a triple camp bot. Shrines activated in 23 seconds. Team Freedom just using these camps to buy themselves time to soak up 2 Storm Talents, get the Dragon Knight as soon as they get it, finish out this game 1 cleanly versus LFM.
LFM is capable of playing a little bit of the dance game with the global. I just don't see Team Freedom giving them that chance.
Well, Freedom sees LFM bot heading up to clear out the bruisers so they can keep that lane pushed, holds on to the top shrine for longer. Can't be somewhere that Dahaka can go as easily. Can't just walk up and take it. Team seen bottom though, as they take that shrine.
20's picked up. Aware, very far forward. He's going to be the target. There's no way Deckard makes it out of here alive. Ring of Frost in return. They try and get the blow up. Unconquered Spirit, though, has been procced. Yoda's able to warp away. Does also get armor off of that isolation hit. But there's too much damage coming out in return as Team Freedom staying extremely healthy.
Collusion gets the charge in. He may have Palm, but he was fully trusting that Yoda would be able to keep himself alive. It was all about chasing down that Droplets kill. 3 kills for Team Freedom, starting off with some unfortunate positioning for LFM, but it was always going to be a tough task to make it back in this game with how strong of an early game Team Freedom had as they moved toward the core for game 1.
No Unconquered Spirit, so Palm has to be used. Yoda, he's just fine. Divine Palm heals him back up. The damage is there. Shields have fallen on the core. DK has officially made it. And Team Freedom coming out firing in game number 1. 15 kills to 2 as we wrap up game number 1.
Some moments of a lot of aggression from Team Freedom. Some moments where they were willing to back off, and they had such control over that game that for them it was a lot more about just making sure that they didn't overstep themselves at any point so that they could just finish out this game, because for them this series is not a guarantee of qualification because things are so close with Octalysis and Endemic, but what it does do is every game matters and they don't want to drop even a single game. How that will turn out in other maps, we'll have to see. Sometimes when you see that kind of pressure, those high-stakes situations, the passivity and fear of losing a game can start to set in. But for them, this looks like a very good, strong game and a strong indication of what is to come in the rest of the series.
There's always the difference between trying to win and trying not to lose. Sometimes Team Freedom, it's the latter. Sometimes it's the former. And in this game, it was the former of trying to win.
Yeah.
And Zugrug on Muradin, he played a lot of it in phase 1. He's playing it here in phase 2. And this new style with the aggression backed up by collusion on that Kharazim might be a recipe for success in a lot of these games.
Well, for Team Freedom, they played every stage of that game very, very well. And one particular place that a lot of teams, even on Dragonshire especially, can have some trouble of figuring out the important decisions to make is in the mid game. And lucky for you guys at home, this week, Heroes in the HGC has put together, talking to a lot of our pros, the mid-game moves series. There's some really good stuff here. You can go to playheroes.com/HGC. There's things like pros talking about when to take camps, when to take bosses, what to do with them, what to do if you lose a team fight, like in the instance of LFM, what to do if you've won a team fight and want to take advantage of that and make sure that you push your advantages like Team Freedom was able to do there. So make sure to go check that out. There is some fantastic stuff. I feel like I learned a lot in those series.
There's the part on camps, there's a TLDR version, so if you don't want to read the whole thing, there's different timings for each different map.
Yes.
The one tip they forgot, though, I don't know who I need to talk to about this, but if it's like 20 minutes in the game, you get a full team wipe, you have to go do camps before you go to core, right? That's
No. Also, that's late game, but well, I guess it could be mid game depending on how hard you're winning. You know who you could talk to about that one? You know who did that one? Dreadnought.
Yeah, He clearly left out the strategy.
Don't listen to this
wipe,
one. This is not. This is
goes
not a
straight
tip.
to bosses.
This
or
is not a tip.
Straight to camp.
That one's really good. You should definitely check that one out. We're gonna go to the next battleground between LFM and Team Freedom, and that one is Infernal Shrines. This is